She thanked her lover at our 35th anniversary party. I walked out with evidence of $242,000 she stole from our retirement. 3 days later, our daughter collapsed. The DNA test that could save her life revealed a 28-year lie. That's when I realized the woman I built everything for had been playing me since the beginning. My name is Richard Wallace. I'm 58, and I've spent the last 35 years married to a woman I thought I knew. I built a successful business hauling luxury cars across the country, 7 auto carriers, good drivers on payroll, clients who trust me with their $250,000 vehicles. It's honest work, and it's given us a comfortable life. Not Wall Street money like our son Daniel makes, but solid, respectable. The morning of our 35th anniversary started like any other Thursday. I was up at 5:30, brewing coffee in our kitchen in Sacramento while Beverly slept upstairs. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of early traffic on I-80. I planned to take her to that new steakhouse downtown, the one that had been getting good reviews. Nothing fancy, just a nice dinner for the two of us. I was scrambling eggs when Beverly came downstairs. She looked good. She always did. At 55, she still turned heads, something she was very aware of. The yoga classes, the salon visits, the clothes that cost more than they should. I never minded. She worked hard as marketing director at her tech company, pulled in a good salary. She deserved to feel good about herself. "Morning, Bev," I said, plating the eggs. "Happy anniversary." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "All right, 35 years. That's something. That's something. Not, I love you. Or can you believe it? Just, that's something." I made reservations at Morgan's for 7. I told her, pouring her coffee. Figured we'd celebrate properly. Beverly sat down, checking her phone before she even touched the eggs. Her thumbs moved quickly across the screen, and I saw the faintest smile play at her lips. "Actually, Richard, I meant to tell you earlier. I have a critical marketing presentation tonight. The whole executive team will be there. I can't miss it." I stood there with the coffee pot in my hand, watching my wife of 35 years type another message to someone more important than me. "On our anniversary. It's just one night," she said, not looking up. "We can celebrate this weekend. You understand, right?" I understood. I understood that for the past 6 months, there had been a lot of late meetings. A lot of weekends where she was too tired to do anything but scroll through her phone. A lot of times when she'd laugh at a text message and then clear her throat when she noticed me watching. "Sure," I said. "This weekend." Beverly finished her eggs quickly, kissed me on the cheek, the same way you'd kiss a brother, and headed out the door. I watched her BMW pull out of the driveway, and something cold settled in my chest. I spent the morning running routes with my drivers, checking maintenance logs, doing the usual Thursday routine. But my mind kept circling back to Beverly's face at breakfast. That smile when she read her phone. The way she couldn't get out of our house fast enough. Around noon, my phone rang. It wasn't Beverly. It was our daughter, Judith. "Hey, Dad," she said, and I could hear the weariness in her voice. "Just want to say happy anniversary. You guys doing anything special?" Judith, 28 years old, working double shifts at 3 different restaurants just to make rent in Portland. 2 failed marriages behind her, struggling to stay afloat. But she remembered. She called. "Your mom's got a work thing," I told her. "We'll celebrate this weekend." There was a pause. "Dad, is everything okay? With you and Mom?" "Everything's fine, honey. How are you doing?" We talked for 20 minutes. She didn't ask me for money, but I made a mental note to send her some anyway. I always did, though I never told Beverly about it. Beverly thought Judith needed to figure things out on her own, that helping her was just enabling her failures. That afternoon, I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our joint bank account, the one we'd had for 30 years, the one where both our paychecks went. I started looking at the transactions from the past 6 months, and that's when I saw them. Charges I didn't recognize. Payments to places Beverly had never mentioned. Transfers to accounts I'd never heard of. My hands were steady as I pulled up the spreadsheet. Years of running a business had taught me to read numbers, and these numbers were telling me a story I didn't want to hear. By the time Beverly came home that night, at 11:15, not 7 like her meeting would have required, I was sitting in the dark living room with a glass of whiskey and a lot of questions. But I didn't ask them. Not yet. Sometimes the hardest part isn't finding out the truth. It's deciding what you're going to do about it. The next morning, I was in my office going through dispatch schedules when my phone rang. Daniel, our son, the Wall Street success story. Dad, he said, his voice clipped and efficient like always. Happy belated anniversary. Sorry I didn't call yesterday. Merger deal went until midnight. No problem, son. How's New York treating you? Good. Listen, I sent your mom something. A cruise package. Mediterranean, 3 weeks, first class. Should arrive today. I sat back in my chair, stunned. That kind of trip had to cost $15,000, maybe $20,000. Daniel, that's too much. You've been married 35 years, he interrupted. You deserve it. Book it whenever works for you guys. We talked for a few more minutes about his work, his wife Amy, the grandkids I barely saw. He mentioned something about a big case closing, bonuses, buying a second property in the Hamptons. The whole conversation felt like a business call. Professional. Distant. Your sister called me yesterday, I said. She remembered the anniversary. There was a pause. Judith called you? What did she want? Nothing. Just to say happy anniversary. Dad, you're not sending her money again, are you? Daniel's tone sharpened. She needs to figure her life out. Every time you bail her out, you're just postponing the inevitable. She's your sister. She's 28 years old with 3 failed marriages and a drinking problem, he said. I heard a door close on his end. Look, I know you have a soft spot for her, but Mom's right. Judith makes bad choices, and we can't keep rescuing her. I'll think about the cruise, I said instead. Thanks, son. After he hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Daniel hadn't asked about Beverly. Hadn't asked if we actually went out for our anniversary. Hadn't asked if everything was okay. Maybe because he already knew it wasn't. I spent the rest of the morning checking those bank statements again. The pattern was clearer now. Every Tuesday and Thursday, like clockwork, charges at the same hotel downtown. The Riverside Inn. Not cheap. $200, sometimes $300 a pop. Tuesday and Thursday. Beverly's late meeting days. My phone buzzed. A text from Beverly. Matthew's coming by the house tonight to discuss the Q4 marketing strategy. Don't wait up. Might run late. Matthew Rafferty. Her marketing consultant that she'd hired 6 months ago. 39 years old. According to his LinkedIn profile, I'd looked up that morning. Former college athlete. Cocky smile in every photo. I typed back, sure. I'll be in the workshop. I have a detached workshop behind our house where I restore old car parts. It's my escape, my therapy. That afternoon, I wasn't restoring anything. I was making phone calls. The first call went to Jack Morrison, a private investigator I'd used years ago to vet drivers. The second went to my attorney, Bill Hayes. The third went to my accountant. Richard, what's this about? My accountant asked. I need you to pull every financial record we have, I told him. Bank accounts, retirement funds, investments, everything. I want to know exactly where we stand. Is everything all right? Just do it, please. And Bill, I need you to tell me what my options are. Hypothetically. By 6 that evening, I was in my workshop with the lights off, watching through the window as a silver Audi pulled into my driveway. Matthew Rafferty stepped out, wearing designer jeans and a polo shirt that probably cost more than my weekly grocery bill. Beverly met him at the door. She'd changed clothes. The business suit was gone, replaced by a dress I'd never seen before. They went inside. I waited 10 minutes, then walked across the yard and let myself in through the back door. I could hear them in the living room. Beverly's laugh. The real one. The one I hadn't heard in months. The clink of wine glasses. I stood in the kitchen, listening to my wife flirt with another man in my house, and felt something inside me go cold and hard. Tomorrow, I'd meet with Jack Morrison. Tomorrow, I'd start getting proof. Tonight, I'd just remember what it felt like to be a fool. Jack Donovan met me at a diner off Highway 50 on Monday morning. He slid a manila envelope across the table. I didn't open it right away. You sure you want to see this? Jack asked. He was a former cop, mid-50s, seen everything. Once you look, you can't unsee it. I opened the envelope. The first photo showed Beverly and Matthew Rafferty entering the Riverside Inn. Tuesday afternoon, 2:15 p.m. The timestamp was clear. The second showed them leaving 3 hours later. Beverly's hair was different, messier. Her lipstick was gone. There were a dozen more. Different days, same hotel. In one, Matthew had his hand on the small of Beverly's back. In another, they were kissing in the parking lot. There's more, Jack said quietly. I tracked his vehicle to your house 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Always when your truck wasn't in the driveway. He stays 2, sometimes 3 hours. My house. The bed Beverly and I had shared for 35 years. I slid the photos back into the envelope, my hand steady. What else did you find out about him? Matthew Rafferty, 39, divorced 2 years ago. Runs a marketing consulting firm, which basically means he sells overpriced advice to companies with too much money. He's been working with your wife's company for 8 months. Jack pulled out his notebook. Here's the interesting part. He's done this before. I found 3 other women, all executives, all married, all around your wife's age. He has a type, a pattern, a business model. Jack corrected. These women pay him consulting fees, but he's also getting money other ways. Gifts, loans, investments in his business ventures. One woman gave him $80,000 before her husband found out. I thought about those bank transfers I'd seen. $40,000 to RMC Consulting over 6 months. $60,000 is something called Venture Capital Fund, LLC. I need you to keep digging, I told Jack. Everything. Where the money went, what he's really running, all of it. That afternoon, I met with Bill Hayes, my attorney. I laid out everything. The photos, the money transfers, the pattern of lies. Richard, I won't sugarcoat this, Bill said. California's a community property state, but if you can prove financial fraud, infidelity, dissipation of assets, you've got leverage. Real leverage. What do I need? More documentation. Bank records. Proof the transfers weren't authorized by you. Evidence she was using marital funds for the affair. Can you access your retirement accounts? I pulled up my phone and logged into our retirement account. The balance made my stomach drop. We'd had $340,000 6 months ago. Now, there was $98,000. She took $242,000. I said, my voice hollow. Bill leaned forward. Did you authorize any withdrawals? Not a single one. That's forgery, Richard. That's a crime. If she signed your name to those withdrawal forms. He paused. You need to get copies of every document. The bank will have signature cards on file. I drove straight to the bank. The manager, Linda Foster, had known us for 15 years. Mr. Wallace, I can pull those records, but I have to ask, is everything all right? Just need them for tax purposes, I lied. An hour later, I was sitting in my truck looking at withdrawal authorization forms. Beverly had signed my name to every single one. The signatures weren't even good forgeries. Anyone comparing them to my actual signature could see the difference. My phone rang. Beverly. Richard, where are you? She asked. I'm home and dinner isn't started. I'm at the bank. I'll be home in an hour. What are you doing at the bank? Just checking on something, I said calmly. See you soon. I hung up before she could ask more questions. That night, I acted like nothing was wrong. I grilled steaks, opened a bottle of wine, made small talk about my day. Beverly seemed distracted, checking her phone constantly. Everything okay at work? I asked. Just stressful. The Q4 campaign is giving us trouble. She didn't look up from her phone. I watched her smile at whatever she was reading and felt nothing. The man who would have been devastated a week ago was gone. In his place was someone colder. Someone who was done being played for a fool. I'm going to take that cruise Daniel sent, I said. You should request the time off. Beverly's head snapped up. What? When? Next month. 3 weeks in the Mediterranean. It'll be good for us. She set down her phone, and I saw panic flicker across her face. 3 weeks away from Matthew. 3 weeks where she couldn't control the narrative. I'll have to check my schedule, she said. Do that. I replied, cutting into my steak. I already told Daniel we'd go. He spent a lot of money on it. That night, lying in bed next to my wife, I heard her phone buzz repeatedly. She had it on silent, but I could see the screen light up in the dark. Over and over. I closed my eyes and started planning my next move. Because Beverly wasn't the only one who could keep secrets. The call came at 2 in the morning on Wednesday. Judith's number. Dad. Her voice was weak, scared. I'm at the hospital. I was out of bed before she finished the sentence. What happened? I collapsed at work. They brought me to Providence, Portland. Dad, something's really wrong. Beverly stirred beside me. Who is it? She asked, her voice thick with sleep. Judith's in the hospital, I said, already pulling on clothes. I'm driving up there. Now. Richard, it's 2 in the morning. Can't you wait until? Our daughter is in the hospital, I said, my voice hard. I'm going. You can come or you can stay. Beverly sat up, calculating. I have that presentation tomorrow. I can't just. Then stay. I grabbed my keys and wallet. I'll call you when I know what's happening. The drive to Portland took 8 hours. I stopped once for gas and coffee, my mind racing. Judith had sounded terrified, and Judith didn't scare easily. Not after everything she'd been through. I got to Providence Portland Medical Center just after 10. Judith was in a room on the 4th floor, looking small and fragile in the hospital bed. Her face lit up when she saw me. Dad. She started crying. I'm so scared. I pulled a chair next to her bed and took her hand. Tell me what happened, honey. I was at work, carrying a tray, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was in an ambulance. She wiped her eyes. They've been running tests all morning. Something about my kidneys not working right. They said something about kidney failure. A doctor came in 20 minutes later. Dr. Sarah Patel, nephrology. Mr. Wallace, she said, shaking my hand. Your daughter's in acute kidney distress. We're running more tests, but she may need a transplant. The words hit me like a freight train. A transplant. We're checking family compatibility first. Living donors are the best option. Are you willing to be tested? Of course. Whatever she needs. They drew my blood that afternoon. Judith dozed on and off, and I sat beside her, holding her hand like I used to when she was little and had nightmares. Beverly called around 3. How is she? They think she might need a kidney transplant. There was a pause. Oh my God. Is it serious? It's her kidneys, Beverly. Yes, it's serious. They're testing me to see if I'm a match. I should come up there. You should. I agreed. But finish your presentation first. I know how important it is. I heard the relief in her voice. I'll drive up tomorrow. Tell Judith I love her. I didn't tell Judith that. I didn't see the point. Daniel called that evening. I filled him in on Judith's condition. A transplant? Dad, that's major surgery. For both of you if you donate. She's my daughter. I get that, but have you thought about the recovery time? Your business? What if something goes wrong? Daniel, she needs a kidney. I'm just saying, there are other options. The transplant list, other donors. She's your sister, I said, my voice cold. Not a business problem to solve. Daniel was quiet for a moment. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just worried about you. Worry about Judith. The test results came back Friday morning. Dr. Patel's face told me everything before she said a word. Mr. Wallace, I need to speak with you privately. We stepped into a consultation room. Dr. Patel sat down and opened a folder. The tests show you're not a compatible donor for Judith, she said. But there's something else. Something unusual. My heart started pounding. What? The genetic markers. Mr. Wallace, based on these results, there's no biological relationship between you and Judith. You're not her father. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. That's impossible. I'm sorry, Dr. Patel said gently. The tests are very accurate. Is there any chance? No. But even as I said it, I knew. The affair with Matthew wasn't Beverly's first. It was just the first time I caught her. I walked back to Judith's room in a daze. She was awake, looking hopeful. Am I a match? She asked. I looked at my daughter, because she was my daughter, blood or not, and made a decision. The tests aren't back yet, I lied. They need to run more. I wasn't going to tell her. Not here, not now, not when she was scared and sick. That was a conversation for later, if ever. But Beverly and I, we were going to have a very different conversation. I stayed in Portland with Judith for 3 days. Beverly never came. She called twice, both times with excuses about work emergencies. On the 3rd day, Judith was stable enough to talk about next steps. Dr. Patel had found a potential donor through the registry, but it would take months to arrange. I can wait, Judith said. She looked stronger already. Dad, you should go home. You've got a business to run. Your health is more important than business. She squeezed my hand. I know, and that means everything to me. On the drive back to Sacramento, I had 8 hours to think, 8 hours to decide how to handle what I'd learned. Beverly had lied to me for 28 years. Judith wasn't mine biologically, but she was mine in every way that mattered. The question was, did Judith deserve to know? Did the truth serve any purpose except to hurt her? I decided she didn't need to know. Not now, maybe not ever. But Beverly and I were going to have a conversation she'd never forget. I got home Thursday evening. Beverly's car was in the driveway, but so was Matthew's silver Audi. I parked on the street and sat there for a moment, watching my house. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Jack Donovan. They're both here. Get over here now with your camera. I walked into the front door. I could hear voices from the living room. Beverly's laugh, light and carefree. A man's voice responding. They were on the couch. Beverly saw me first, and the color drained from her face. Richard, you're home early. I thought you were staying in Portland until... Until when? I asked calmly. Until you were done with him. Matthew stood up, trying to look confident. Mr. Wallace, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Beverly and I were just discussing. Discussing what? I interrupted. How to spend more of my retirement money. How many more times you could use my bed while I was out of town. Beverly stood, her hands shaking. Richard, please, let me explain. Explain which part, Beverly? The affair? The stolen money? Or the fact that you've been lying to me for 28 years about Judith? Her eyes went wide. What are you talking about? The hospital ran tests. Genetic tests. Judith isn't my daughter. But you knew that, didn't you? Matthew looked between us, clearly wanting to leave but trapped. Richard, I can explain that. It was one time years ago. A mistake. A mistake that you let me believe was my daughter for almost 3 decades. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos Jack had sent. But this isn't a mistake, is it? This is a choice. Multiple choices. For months. Beverly started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It just happened. I didn't mean. Get out, I said to Matthew. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. I followed him, and, on the front porch, Jack Donovan was waiting with his camera. The flash went off 3 times before Matthew made it to his car. Back inside, Beverly was on the couch, sobbing. Richard, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. No, I said simply. We can't. I want you to listen very carefully, Beverly. Tomorrow morning, you're going to receive divorce papers. You stole $242,000 from our retirement fund by forging my signature. That's a felony. You committed adultery, and you lied about Judith's paternity for 28 years. You can't prove. I have the bank records. I have the forged signature cards. I have photos and video of you and Matthew. I have everything. I sat down across from her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to agree to my terms in the divorce, or I'm going to have you prosecuted for fraud and forgery. Your choice. Beverly's face went white. You wouldn't. Try me, I said. You've got until tomorrow to decide. Pack a bag. You're staying somewhere else tonight. This is my house, too. Actually, it's my house. I bought it before we got married. Check the deed. I watched her grab clothes and toiletries, still crying, still trying to apologize. When she left, I sat in the quiet house and felt nothing but relief. My phone rang. Daniel. Dad, Mom just called me. She said you threw her out. She said you're accusing her of things. Everything I'm accusing her of is true, and I have proof. Your mother's been having an affair and stealing from our retirement fund. Mom wouldn't. She did. And Daniel, you need to decide whose side you're on, because there are sides now. I hung up before he could respond. 2 weeks later, Daniel organized a 35th anniversary party at an upscale restaurant in Sacramento. He'd planned it months ago, before everything fell apart, and insisted we still go through with it. It'll look bad if you cancel, Daniel said. People will talk. Just show up, smile for a few hours, and then you can continue with whatever you're doing. Beverly had been staying at a hotel. We'd barely spoken except through attorneys. But for this one night, we were supposed to pretend everything was fine. The restaurant was full of family and friends. My brother and his wife, Beverly's sister, people from our church, business associates. Everyone smiling and congratulating us on 35 years of marriage. I played the part. Shook hands, accepted toasts, stood next to Beverly for photos. She looked beautiful but hollow, like a mannequin in an expensive dress. The speeches started after dinner. Daniel went first, talking about what a strong marriage we had, how we'd build a family and a life together. Then Beverly's sister talked about true love and commitment. Then Beverly stood up. I want to thank everyone for being here, she said, her voice wavering slightly. 35 years is a long time, and it hasn't always been easy. But I want to especially thank someone who's helped me rediscover who I am over the past year. I felt my jaw tighten. Matthew Rafferty, Beverly continued, looking across the room. You've helped me become a better version of myself, pushed me to grow, and I'm so grateful for your guidance and support. The room went silent. People looked confused. Some looked at me. Beverly sat down, not seeming to realize what she'd just done. She'd just publicly thanked her lover at our anniversary party, in front of everyone we knew. Daniel looked mortified. My brother's face was red with anger. Beverly's sister was staring at her in shock. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked out. I didn't say a word to anyone. In my truck, I pulled out my phone and sent Beverly a text message. I have video of you and Matthew at the Riverside Inn from last Tuesday. I have your forged signatures on our retirement account withdrawals. I have bank records showing you stole $242,000. Tomorrow, my attorney files. You just humiliated both of us in front of everyone we know. I hope he was worth it. I sent it and drove home. 2 hours later, Beverly came back to the house. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her key in the lock. She walked into the living room where I was sitting with a glass of bourbon. Her makeup was ruined from crying, her expensive dress wrinkled. Richard, I didn't mean, I wasn't thinking. You thanked him, I said quietly. At our anniversary party, you thanked your lover. In front of our son, our friends, everyone. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so confused. Everything is so mixed up. No, Beverly. You knew exactly what you were doing. You were choosing him over me. Over our marriage. Over everything we built. She collapsed onto the couch. Please, Richard. I'll end it with Matthew. I'll pay back the money. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't divorce me. Please. I looked at the woman I'd spent 35 years with and felt nothing but disgust. It's too late, I said. The papers are filed. You're going to sign them, and you're going to give me everything I'm asking for. Because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. Your company, your friends, your family, everyone. Beverly left that night and never came back. The video from the party went viral in our social circle. Someone had recorded Beverly's speech and shared it. By Monday morning, everyone knew. Beverly's company called her in for a meeting. By Wednesday, she'd been fired for violating their ethics policy and using company resources for personal affairs. Matthew disappeared. His consulting firm shut down overnight. Jack Donovan told me he'd fled to Nevada, where 3 other women were also looking for him. I sat in my house and waited for the divorce to finalize, and I started planning what came next. The week after the party, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends asking what happened. Business associates wanting to know if the rumors were true. Even my pastor called, offering to mediate. I ignored most of them, but when my brother called, I answered. Richard, what the hell happened at that party? He asked. People are saying Beverly thanked her lover in front of everyone. That's exactly what happened. Jesus. And you just walked out. What was I supposed to do? Sit there and smile while she humiliated me. My brother was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I'm divorcing her, and I'm making sure she doesn't get a penny she stole. Over the next few days, Bill Hayes and I built our case. We had everything. Forged signatures, bank records showing the theft, photos of the affair, witness statements. Richard, this is airtight, Bill said. Any judge will side with you. But I need to warn you. If we push the criminal charges, Beverly could face 3 to 5 years in prison. I thought about that. Part of me wanted to see her punished. But another part, the part that remembered 35 years of marriage, hesitated. Let's use it as leverage, I said. She agrees to our terms, or we prosecute. Bill drafted the divorce settlement. Beverly would get nothing from the retirement accounts. I'd keep the house, the business, 70% of all remaining assets. She'd have to repay the stolen money from her portion of the settlement. When Beverly's attorney saw the terms, he called Bill immediately. This is outrageous, he said. You're asking for everything. His client stole over $200,000 and committed adultery. Bill replied calmly. These terms are generous compared to prison time. Beverly fought it for 3 days. Then her attorney called back. She'll sign, he said quietly. But she wants to talk to Richard first. I met Beverly at a coffee shop downtown. She looked terrible, hadn't been sleeping, had lost weight, her expensive clothes hanging loose on her frame. Richard, she started, but I held up my hand. You talk, I'll listen. 5 minutes. She took a shaking breath. I know I destroyed everything. I know I hurt you. But I want you to understand. Matthew made me feel alive again. Like I mattered. Like I was more than just a wife and mother. So you stole from me and slept with him in our bed, I said flatly. I know it was wrong. I know I can't fix it. But please, don't take everything. I'll have nothing left. You should have thought of that before you forged my name on those documents. What about Judith? Beverly asked desperately. Are you going to tell her? About me not being? No, I interrupted. That's not my secret to tell. That's yours. But if you ever want a relationship with her again, you'll have to live with that lie for the rest of your life. Beverly started crying. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did. Sign the papers, Beverly. It's over. She signed them that afternoon. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Jack Donovan. Richard, you need to hear this, he said. I've been tracking Matthew Rafferty. He didn't just scam your wife. I found 6 other women across California and Nevada. Total take, over $400,000. Can they get their money back? Doubtful. He's blown through most of it. But here's the interesting part. One of the women filed a police report. Detective wants to talk to you about Beverly's case. I met with Detective Frank Wilson 2 days later. He was a veteran cop, looked tired but determined. Mr. Wallace, if your wife cooperates, we can build a case against Rafferty for fraud, extortion, and identity theft, he said. He's done this to multiple women. But we need victims willing to testify. Talk to Beverly, I said. She might be willing to help put him away. I gave him Beverly's number and left. Whatever happened to Matthew Rafferty wasn't my problem anymore. But watching him go to prison, that would be satisfying. 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, Daniel flew in from New York. He texted me, Dad, we need to talk. Meet me at the house. When I got there, Daniel's rental car was in the driveway. I found him in the living room, looking uncomfortable. Dad, he said, standing up. Thanks for meeting me. What's this about, Daniel? He took a breath. Mom called me. She's devastated. She's lost everything. Her job, her marriage, her money. She's living in a 1-bedroom apartment and working temp jobs. She made her choices. I know, but Daniel paused. Don't you think you're being too harsh? She made a mistake. A mistake. I felt my anger rising. She stole $242,000 from our retirement fund. She forged my signature. She had an affair for months. Which part of that was a mistake? People make errors in judgment. Daniel, whose side are you on here? He looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes. He'd already chosen. I'm trying to be fair to both of you, Daniel said carefully. Mom's not evil. She got caught up in something. She got caught up in fraud and adultery, I said coldly. And you're defending her. I'm not defending what she did. I'm saying maybe you push her to it. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to her, made her feel valued. I stood up. Get out. Dad, get out of my house, Daniel. You want to blame me for your mother's choices? Fine, but you don't get to do it under my roof. You're being unreasonable. I'm being unreasonable. I stepped closer. Your mother stole our retirement. Money I worked 30 years to save. Money that was supposed to support us in old age. And you're telling me I pushed her to it. Daniel backed toward the door. I'm just trying to understand. Here's what you need to understand, son. Your mother had a choice. She could have talked to me, could have gone to counseling, could have done 1,000 things besides stealing and lying. She chose this. And you're choosing to defend her. She's my mother, and I'm your father. But apparently, that doesn't matter to you. Daniel left. I stood in the empty house and realized I'd lost more than a wife. I lost my son too. But the next day, my phone rang. Judith. Dad, I heard Daniel came to see you. News travels fast. He called me. Judith said quietly. Told me you kicked him out. Told me you were being unreasonable about Mom. And what do you think? I think Mom made her own choices, and you're allowed to be angry about them. She paused. Dad, I don't know what happened between you and Mom, but I know you. You're not cruel. You're not unreasonable. If you're doing this, you have good reasons. My throat tightened. Thanks, sweetheart. I'm flying down next week, Judith said. I want to see you. And Dad, whatever happened with Mom, whatever she did, you're still my father. That doesn't change. When we hung up, I sat down and let myself feel it. The pain of losing Daniel's respect. The relief of keeping Judith's. A week later, Judith flew to Sacramento. We had dinner at my house, and I told her everything. Not about the paternity. I decided she'd never know that. But about the affair, the money, the lies. I'm so sorry, Dad, she said, crying. I knew something was wrong, but I never thought. It's not your fault. Daniel's wrong, Judith said firmly. What Mom did was wrong. Period. You don't steal from someone you love. We talked late into the night. About her health. She was on the transplant list, doing better. About her jobs. She cut back to 2 restaurants. Was saving money. About her life. I'm getting better, Dad, she said. No more bad relationships. No more mistakes. I'm figuring it out. I'm proud of you, I told her. And I meant it. The daughter everyone wrote off as a failure was the only one with the integrity to stand by me. And that told me everything I needed to know about who I'd raised right. For months after I filed for divorce, the court proceedings were finalized. I got the house, 70% of our remaining assets, and a judgment against Beverly for the full amount she'd stolen. Bill Hayes called me with the final numbers. Richard, after everything's divided, you're getting about $320,000 in total assets. Beverly gets $90,000, minus what she owes you for the theft. She'll be paying you back for years. What about the house? Yours. Free and clear. She signed over her interest. I sat in that house, the house I'd bought before we married, the house we'd raised our kids in, and felt nothing but relief. The business was doing well. I'd hired 2 new drivers and landed a contract with a luxury dealership in San Francisco. Turns out, word had spread about my situation, and other men who'd been through divorces started sending business my way. A strange brotherhood of the betrayed. Then Detective Wilson called. Mr. Wallace, thought you want to know. We arrested Matthew Rafferty in Reno. He's being extradited to California. Between your wife's testimony and the other victims, we've got him on 12 counts of fraud, 6 counts of identity theft, and multiple counts of grand larceny. How much time is he looking at? Prosecutors asking for 15 years. With his record and the number of victims, he'll probably get 10 minimum. I thanked him and hung up. Matthew Rafferty was going to prison. Beverly had lost everything. Her job, her marriage, her reputation, her money. Just as I thought. This is what justice feels like. A week later, Beverly called. I almost didn't answer. Richard, she said quietly. I heard about Matthew's arrest. Good. He deserves it. I know. I gave my testimony. Told them everything. She paused. I'm calling because I need to tell you something. Judith called me last week. My hand tightened on the phone. What did she want? She invited me to her apartment in Portland. She wanted to talk. About what? About us. About the divorce. About everything. Beverly's voice faltered. Richard, she asked me point blank if there was anything else I was hiding. Anything about her. My heart stopped. What did you tell her? I told her no. I couldn't tell her the truth. Not about that. She doesn't need to know. For once, we agree on something. She said she wants to have a relationship with me. But there are boundaries now, Beverly continued. She'll see me for coffee occasionally, but I'm not allowed to ask about you or criticize her choices. She made it very clear. She's on your side. Good. Richard, I know I don't have a right to ask, but Beverly took a shaking breath. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I thought about that question. 35 years of marriage. 2 kids. A lifetime of memories, now poisoned by her lies. I don't know, Beverly. Maybe someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. We're done. We'll always be done. I understand, she whispered. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. For all of it. She hung up before I could respond. That night, Judith called. Dad, I saw Mom today. She told me. I needed to hear her side. To understand why she did what she did. Judith paused. She said she was unhappy. That she felt invisible. That Matthew made her feel alive. And what do you think? I think those are excuses. Being unhappy doesn't give you the right to steal and cheat. You were unhappy too, but you didn't destroy everything. No, I didn't. I told her I'd meet her sometimes, but our relationship will never be the same. She broke something, Dad, with all of us. I'm proud of you for setting those boundaries. I learned from the best, Judith said softly. 14 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood in the Portland airport waiting for Judith's flight to land. She got her kidney transplant 3 months ago. The donor was a young woman from Seattle who died in a car accident. Judith had written the family a letter thanking them for the gift of life. The recovery had been tough, but Judith was doing well. She'd cut back to 1 restaurant job, enrolled in community college to study business management, and had been sober for over a year. When she came through the gate, I barely recognized her. She looked healthy, color in her face, energy in her step, hope in her eyes. Dad, she hugged me tight. Thanks for picking me up. Always, sweetheart. We drove to my house. I'd invited her to stay for Thanksgiving week. It would just be the 2 of us. Daniel had declined my invitation, choosing to spend the holiday with Beverly instead. That hurt, but I'd accepted it. Some relationships couldn't be salvaged. Over the next few days, Judith and I fell into an easy rhythm. I taught her basic accounting for her business classes. She helped me organize my home office. We cooked together, watched old movies, talked about everything and nothing. On Thanksgiving Day, as we sat down to dinner, Judith raised her glass. "Dad, I want to make a toast," she said. "A year ago, I was sick, broke, and scared. I'd failed at marriage 3 times. I was working dead-end jobs and drinking too much. Everyone in the family had written me off as a lost cause." "Judith, let me finish," she said gently. "Everyone except you. You never gave up on me. You sent me money when I needed it. You answered my calls at 2 in the morning. You drove 8 hours when I was in the hospital. You stood by me when I had nothing to offer you but problems." My throat tightened. "You're the only person who never asked me to be someone I'm not," Judith continued. "And I want you to know, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to build a good life. Not for Mom, not for Daniel, but for me. And for you. You already make me proud," I said. We clinked glasses, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Later that evening, I got an email from my accountant. Beverly had made her first payment on the money she owed me. $5,000. Only $237,000 left to go. I forwarded it to Bill Hayes with a note. "Keep the pressure on." The next morning, I was in my workshop when my phone rang. "Daniel." I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Dad," he said quietly. "I wanted to call and say, I'm sorry for taking Mom's side, for making excuses for what she did. I was wrong." I sat down on my workbench. "What changed?" "I had dinner with Mom last week. She spent the whole time complaining about her life, blaming you for everything, acting like she was the victim. And I realized she hasn't changed at all. She still doesn't take responsibility. No, she doesn't. I should have seen it earlier. Should have stood by you from the beginning." Daniel paused. "I know I can't undo what I said, but I want to try and make things right. If you'll let me." I thought about it. About all the years we'd had before this mess. About the son I'd raised, who'd gotten lost in his success and his mother's lies. "It'll take time, Daniel. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight." "I know, but I want to try." "Then we'll try," I said, "one step at a time." After we hung up, I sat in the quiet workshop and thought about the past year and a half. I'd lost a marriage, lost my savings, lost my illusions about the woman I'd loved for 35 years. But I'd gained something too. I'd gained clarity. I'd gained my self-respect. I'd gained a deeper relationship with my daughter and maybe, eventually, a chance to rebuild with my son. I walked back into the house where Judith was making coffee. She smiled when she saw me. "Everything okay, Dad?" "Everything's good,"